Do you know what you want to do and why? How are you doing it? And what is the end goal? Are you forcing the issue, or is it just who you are? Welcome to PSA. My name is Felix, and this week I was audibly asked in person all that. Yes, I still have conversations with people in person, not just through texts or in screens, believe it or not. What I wanted to do and why. Talk about being put on the spot. I couldn't leave that one unread or make believe I didn't get it like a message. It was eye to eye, and every millisecond that went by, it felt like an eternity before I could answer the question. The delayed answer was caused by how many times I had asked myself that same question. And I was reminiscing on how many paths I had taken in the past while thinking I had the answer to it. I have never felt complete about anything that I've done, and I have always strived for what seems to be an unattainable measure. It just seems to be the way that I'm wired. Yes, I have done, am doing, and will continue to do things that get me accolades, but this is not why I do it. Otherwise, I think I might have that feeling of being complete afterwards. We can say a calling is conviction with divine influence. If you're a non-believer in God, this language may seem odd, and I could see how the divinity of what's calling you could fluctuate a little bit more easily. When I am lost, I try and start finding the answers through the scriptures. And in Genesis 1:27 it says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them." I read somewhere referring to God in a male context is a microaggression. Well, that is how he is referred to from the beginning of the scriptures, so you may be speaking about a different book. Being created in the image of God applies to each human life regardless of class, race, gender, or disability, whether it's mentally or physically. To be in his image is to be a representative in physical form, not a representation in the physical appearance. I believe our ability to create is what most resembles the image of God. So I sometimes feel like I'm in an act of worship when I'm creating. But what I ask myself, is what I'm creating God honoring? The person who most resembled him in the physical form is Jesus. Now, I don't have time or the ability to list all the ways that Jesus and his teachings resemble God in an instance, but I do try to share a little bit of it every week, and I stay totally curious to keep learning about them daily. The roles we take on in life can bring anxiety by comparison, but it should be complementary and bring peace if they are meant to be. Instead of struggling to make ourselves look like another piece in the puzzle we see, have you ever thought that the puzzle will now be incomplete because you were created for your specific place to fit in it? You were meant to complete the picture that God has for your life by connecting with completely different puzzle pieces. When we accomplish something and feel really good about it, that isn't pride, that's joy. Being prideful about yourself means you need everyone to know that you did it. Your joy is not in the work itself, but in the recognition from others that you hope will come for the work that you did. For example, if your best friend or family member told you their favorite food was a pickle, you would be like, okay. If they told it to you every day for a week and they started making merch and flags, you would say, this is a little strange. If all of a sudden a month has gone by and they were insisting that strangers join in or else, you might think there's something definitely wrong, and we're talking about friends and family. So imagine with complete strangers you don't know. In 1 Peter 1:5 it says, all of you clothe yourselves in humility towards one another, because God opposes the proud but shows favor to the humble. And in Luke 14:11 it says, for all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. If you need to force your ideas, beliefs, or works upon someone else, that's not something to be proud about. When your moves speak for themselves, you don't need to be loud about it. I believe pride needs validation, but being proud can be self-contained. In Jesus' time, the word Christian did not exist. It was later created to describe those who looked like him in their posture and in their mannerisms and in their ways. I would rather be called a Christian than tell someone I'm Christian. In the same way, I would rather my accomplishments speak for themselves than me have to force someone to acknowledge them. Nowadays, so few people know him that you may be called a Christian as an insult when it's really the highest form of compliment. Is what we do helping people? Is it naturally in our gifting? Is it well received? Does it provide for you and for others? These are some of the questions we should be asking ourselves. I wasn't able to answer that question as to what I want to do and why, but I do know who it's meant to honor in whatever space I find myself in. And it should be creative and resilient. It should be kind and compassionate. It should be strong and gentle. It should be understanding and direct, accountable and fearless. I should be available and polarizing. I should be courageous and, most importantly, loving. And I also know I can't pull this off by myself, and I'm going to need you to join me on the journey. So until next week, let's love more, and I'll see you at the next PSA. Thank you guys for joining me for another week of PSA. I know I might have sounded a little lost, but when I read your guys' comments and how this is bringing you some help, I feel like I'm on the right path. So check out a couple of these messages and share them with the first person that comes to mind, and I'll see you guys next week.